Have you ever been driving on the highway, looked over at a massive big rig, and just wondered, how in the world do they control that thing? We're talking 80,000 pounds of steel and cargo. Well, today we're going to break down the incredible science behind safely driving one of these giants. So here's the game plan. We'll kick things off with the basic physics, then get into some of the really specific dangers that drivers have to deal with every single day. And we'll wrap it up with the pro-level playbook they use to keep everyone safe out there. All right, let's dive in. The very first thing you gotta understand is that a massive truck isn't just a bigger, heavier car. I mean, it is, but the laws of physics act on it in ways that are way more extreme and, frankly, a lot more dangerous. Yeah, size and weight are the obvious things for sure. But the real game changer is that it's two separate pieces, the tractor and the trailer, connected by a pivot point. That simple fact introduces a bunch of wild forces that you and I in our cars never even have to think about. The difference in just how they handle is, well, it's staggering. Think about this. A fully loaded truck doing highway speeds needs the entire length of a football field to come to a stop. A football field. It needs way more room to turn, and, like we'll see in a bit, one little move of the steering wheel can create this violent whipping motion at the back. And that's exactly why the rules for driving them are so intense. Okay, next up, let's talk about one of the single biggest dangers in the trucking world. It all comes down to a really simple concept that has some incredibly serious consequences: balance. It's all about something called the center of gravity. You know, that single point where all the vehicle's weight is focused. The problem is, on a loaded truck, that point is super high off the ground. And the higher that center of gravity, the less stable the whole thing is, and the easier it is for it to tip over. And a rollover happens in this terrifyingly fast chain reaction. It almost always starts with a simple mistake, like taking a highway on-ramp or a curve just a little too fast. That speed creates a force that shoves the high-up cargo outwards. The tires on the inside of the turn actually lift right off the pavement. And, well, once that happens, it's pretty much impossible to stop it. And the consequences are just devastating. This isn't some fender bender. It is the single most fatal event for truck drivers. Just look at that number. More than half of all driver deaths and crashes happen because of a rollover. So, because that truck and trailer aren't one solid piece, you get two more really unique challenges that drivers have to master. We're talking about the jackknife and something called off-tracking. A jackknife happens when the trailer's wheels lock up and start to skid. All of a sudden, the trailer is moving faster than the tractor pulling it, and it starts to swing out wide, folding it on the tractor just like a pocket knife. The first and only warning a driver gets is seeing that trailer start to creep out in their mirrors, and at that point, they have just seconds to correct it. Now for turning. Here's a super common mistake that actually creates a dangerous trap for other cars on the road. The truck driver swings wide to the left to make a right turn. And what does that do? It opens up this tempting-looking gap on the right. A car driver might see that and think, oh, I can just squeeze by, not realizing the trailer is about to swing right across that exact spot. So the right way to do it is what the pros call off-tracking. See how the driver keeps the back of the trailer super close to the curb? That physically blocks the gap. It forces cars to stay put, which protects everybody, while the track uses the space it needs to make that big, wide turn safely. All right, this next one is one of the most dramatic forces a professional driver has to handle. It's called rearward amplification, but a better name for it is the crack the whip effect. And it's a huge deal, especially if they're pulling more than one trailer. Seriously, think about cracking a whip. A tiny little flick of your wrist, right? But that sends a massive, high-speed wave all the way to the tip. It's the exact same principle here. A small, quick lane change up in the cab gets magnified all the way down the line, and by the time it reaches the very last trailer, it's turned into this violent, wide swing. And this chart really shows how much worse it gets with more trailers. With a double, that rear trailer whips out with twice the force of the tractor's initial movement. But look at the triple. That's a massive 3.5 times the force. It's just wild. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. A simple, sudden jerk of the wheel to maybe avoid something in the road can turn that last trailer into a totally uncontrollable projectile. It could easily flip over or swing away out into other lanes and hit other cars. So, after hearing about all these huge, dangerous forces, you gotta be asking, How on earth do professional drivers manage all this stuff? Well, they do it by following a really strict set of rules. It's all about being smooth, slow, and thinking way, way ahead. The real secret here is that pro driving isn't about reacting fast. It's about making sure you never have to react in the first place. Gentle steering stops that crack the whip effect. Slow speeds, especially in turns, prevent rollovers. And looking way down the road while leaving a huge following distance, I'm talking 6, 7, even 8 seconds, prevents panic stops that can cause a jackknife. It's all a game of foresight and patience. So the next time you see a truck on the road, maybe navigating a tight turn, just remember what's going on. You're not just looking at a slow vehicle. You're watching an expert who is actively managing a whole bunch of immense physical forces. Giving them space isn't just being polite, it's a critical part of sharing the road safely with these masters of momentum.